Hi, thanks for joining me again. Namaste. This class will be focusing on just one pose, Prasarita Padottanasana, wide angle pose. And I'll show you different variations that you can use in going in the pose, getting more lift, getting more action through the legs, and how to release.
Before we get started, if you want to learn the basics of Iyengar yoga,
I've designed a new course, Foundational Iyengar Yoga. This course is for you if you're a beginner, if you've been practicing for a while and you just want to deepen your understanding, or if you're a teacher and you would like to be more inspired, go back to the basics. So it's a 6-week course, 18 different classes, and you'll be able to go through at your own pace.
you can find more details in the description box below.
We're practicing Prasarita Padottanasana today. So ideally, you've already done a little bit of practice. Utthita Trikonasana, Utthita Parsvakonasana, maybe Uttanasana, a forward bend. This is a wide leg forward bend, Prasarita Padottanasana. And it's a little bit more intense for the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. The core is activated. The arms are activated as well. And there's length that comes through the back. So a lot is dealing with the back body as far as strength, but a release through the front body. So let's just start. First of all, have 2 blocks and just put them to the side. First, take your legs wide, about 4.5, 5 feet apart, and come out away from the wall. So here, you're starting to get that forward bend, but you're not going down very low. So you have the feet, outer edges of the feet are parallel to the mat. You're lifting up through the arches. Okay, and with the hands on the wall, here you're hinging forward from the hips. So you start with the hands on the hips, come forward. You can feel the fingers at the groin as they deepen, and then bring your hands to the wall. Press the hands into the wall, and move the hips back. As you press the feet into the floor, lift up through the arches, lift up through the knees, and roll the inner thighs back. Roll the inner knees back. Move your hips back. And just lengthen. Front ribs are moving towards your back ribs. Pubic bone is lifting. And you're lengthening the whole front body. As you press the hands, you're moving your shoulders back towards your hips. Okay? And then come up. So come out, toes in, walk the feet in. Okay, now I'm going to turn around. Classically, we're doing it here at the edge of the mat. When you're at the edge of the mat, you can really tell that the legs are lined up symmetrically. So going from the first position, hands at the wall, you can have blocks. The blocks are at several heights, so they're at higher height, medium height, and low. So you can just first take the blocks higher. If you know you don't need the blocks higher, then you can take them a little bit lower. Hands on your hips, elbows moving back. Already the shoulder blades are moving down, chest is lifting. And here, I'm just going to have you lean back a bit. So come more onto your heels, lengthening up that front body, extending up, shoulders moving down. Keep the thighs moving back toward the wall as you move the hips forward, buttocks forward. And then keep that length and that extension come forward. All right, so again, hands are here at the front groin moving deeper. So just keep the hands on the hips and then bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Now, if you're not able to bend this far, then you can have a chair. If that's higher than you need, you can take the blocks down or have the blocks lower. Start with the hands underneath the shoulders. If you don't require the blocks, then you will just take your hands on the floor. Spread the palms like you did at the wall. Press down into the center of the palm and lift up through the arms. As you lift up through the arms, move the hips back, center of the thigh back, kneecap is lifting, so all the muscles around the knee are activated, and the back of the knee is opening. calf is descending down toward the heels. So the legs are working very actively, and then you're lengthening forward. All right. We're going to take our hands back in progression, step by step. So hands forward first, then hands back. Press the heel of the hand down. If the heel doesn't go down, just keep pressing that direction so you're extending through the whole back of the palm. And what happens a lot on this is that we bring our hips back. So I want to shift my weight to the front of the foot, press the hands down, and then I'm going to bend the elbows so the elbows are in line, and bring the head down. So you come down on the crown of the head. Now that may not be possible for everyone, so I would suggest that if you've used those blocks here, then you take the blocks and you come down any amount that you can. Use the hands pressing onto the floor, lift the shoulders up, and let the head release down. So you don't want to come down with your back rounding like this. Also, you don't want to come down and keep the knees bent. If you have to bend the knees in the beginning, it's okay. Kind of micro bend the knees and then start to straighten the legs. If in order to bring your head down, you have to bend the knees, then take more height. This is really a nice action for the backs of the legs to lengthen the hamstring. So if the knees are bent, then you're not really getting the full benefit of the pose. Okay? So taking the blocks when you need to take those blocks. Now, if you're close to the floor and you haven't been able to bring the head down, you can come down and bring the crown of the head onto a block. Again, moving the weight forward onto the front of the foot. Move the thighs back at the same time. Press your hands into the floor. Lift your shoulders up away from the floor. And then walk out. Straighten the arms. To come up, you bring your hands back on your hips. Inhale, lift up. All right? So now, the feet are really important. So I'm going to show you one other thing. Here, I want to keep the outer edge of the feet pressing down, and I want to lift up through the arch. So sometimes we practice using a wall, but because I'm not going to use the wall today, I'm going to show you how to use that block. So I'm taking the block, taking the mat around the block, so that serves as a bit of a wall for me. And I'll do the same on this side. So it might shorten my stance a little bit, but I want you to get the idea of the outer edge of the foot moving down into the floor. So you keep that attention on the outer edge of the foot, lift up through the legs, and then as you go down, pressing the inner foot, the outer foot, you lengthen forward. So from here, you're lengthening the backs of the thighs, and the trunk is extending forward. Keep that action through the feet. Bring the hands down. And here, because I brought my legs a little bit closer, the head's not going to go down. That's okay. So here, I want to just lengthen the neck, let the back elongate, and let my brain become quiet. So this pose is doing two things. We've got the activation of the legs and the release of the spine, release of the head, and release of the brain. Okay, so that puts me very close in. So now you can take those blocks away, and how far you have your legs apart will depend on your leg length and your trunk. So you just don't bring the feet all the way out so that you can get your head to the floor, because then you'll not be getting the length through the spine. So finding that distance, about 4.5, 5 feet apart, is a general distance, but it will depend on your body. Now, if you have quite a long trunk, you can also take the mat on the block, on top of the block, and step on the block. Okay, so let's just negotiate this here. Okay, so I have both feet on the block. So as I said, if you want to get a little bit more length going to the floor, if the trunk is exceptionally long or the legs are long, take the height on the block, coming down. And here, I'm just going to take my hands on the outer ankles and then take hold of the toes and lengthen forward. So pull up with the index finger and the middle finger around the toes, and the thumb is just touching gently on the side. So pulling up, lengthening the arms, extending the side trunk, moving the inner thighs back, extend the heels down into that block, and then bend the elbows and release the head down. So here, just let your head go, lengthen the neck, shoulders are lifting up, and remember that weight on the front of the foot. So very strong action with the legs moving back, thighs moving toward the wall so that you can lengthen the trunk down and not topple over. So there's opposing action here, the legs moving back and your trunk moving forward. And then to come up, straighten the arms, bring the hands back onto the hips. Inhale, come up. Okay, we step off those blocks now. I'm going to show you one other way to keep the attention in your legs so that you keep that movement of the legs in the direction they need to go. So I'm bringing my mat to the wall. All right, so I have the mat against the wall. What I'm going to do, first have the feet a little bit away from the wall. I'll come down, either have the blocks or not use the blocks, depending on whether you need them. And then bring the feet all the way back. Bring the thighs all the way back. And move the thighs back. So this direction of the legs needing to move back, also lifting up, you're going to be able to feel the wall and have that contact the wall inform you of how much you're using your legs. So I'm not using my legs much here. I need to move the thighs back so that it's a rotation of the inner thigh back. And because you're so close to the wall, I just want you to keep your hands underneath your shoulders and press. You can also take the blocks, take them a little bit higher, and then press the thighs back. This is probably be good for just beginning, so you can feel that contact of the legs at the wall. And then you can bring your hands back, still pressing against the wall, lifting up through the sitting bones. Let's see. Take the blocks down, have the hands on the blocks, press the hands forward on the blocks, bend the elbows, and release down. Okay, so there's a variety of different ways you could do this. But we're using the wall here just to get that movement of the thighs. So now I'm going to bring my hands into a downward dog action, which is lengthening the side trunk, which feels really nice. I can feel the legs in contact with the wall, hips moving back in that direction, and lengthening the side trunk. So the lower abdomen lifts up to the upper abdomen lifting, so the front body is lengthening from the tops of the shoulders moving away. And then to come out, bring your feet away from the wall, bring your hands onto your hips, inhale, come up. Okay, so There's many ways you can practice this Prasarita Padottanasana. It depends on your body. So take the height that you need, get the length. Don't just spread your legs, because if you just spread too much, you'll get your back in a rounded position, which is not going to help. So this is nice for many different things. Preparation for headstand as well, because you're right on the crown of the head, and it gets you in that orientation and your mindset ready for being in an inversion. So when we're in an inversion, the head is lower than the heart, which is very calming, very restful. Great if you have anxiety, a headache, and any kind of back issues. Be careful with this. You have to make sure that you're bending from the hips. So just observe what you feel. If it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. Okay? All right. We'll see you next time. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've gotten some ideas. Of course, it all depends on your body, how you need to modify. So practice and use different variations that I've shown you, and even things that you discover on your own, so that you can get that activation to the legs, that length through the backs of the thighs, straighten the legs, and also release the trunk. Have head support when you need it. You can also use a chair. Bring your arms on a chair so that you're getting that benefits of Prasarita Padottanasana. So you can take a look at some of the other videos that I've done here and have a fuller, longer practice as well. All right, we'll see you next time. Namaste.